Hello, welcome to a virtual program from the Bellwood Public Library. Today I'm going to be talking about temperature blankets, a year-long creative project. So let's get right into it. So what is a temperature blanket? It's a year-long craft project. They're usually done in crochet, but that's not the only option, and it tracks temperatures in your area in a tangible way. So now that you know what a temperature blanket is, why might you want to do one? A continuous project forces you to get creative regularly. It's also a good way to memorialize the year. Every year is unique, and this is one way to remember it. It's also a good way to practice your skills. If you're learning to crochet, this is a great practice project as it's pretty beginner friendly. If you're not just learning and you already know, this is still a great practice project. Before you start a temperature blanket or any other large project, you need to do some planning. For this, you would need to decide whether you want to use the high or average temperature, how and where you'll collect your information, what colors you'll use. Will you do a gradient, a rainbow, shades of all one color, as well as what kind of methods you'll use. Getting your information is fairly straightforward. I used the Weather Channel for mine, but you could also use weather.gov, local news, or a thermometer in or on your home. Storing your information is also pretty straightforward. I used a spreadsheet in Google Sheets because it's free, but you could also use a paper list or write it on a calendar, whether that's a paper calendar or the one in your phone. I've actually made a template for the spreadsheet that I used, which will be available in the description of this video. You'll also need to decide what methods you want to use. Typically, a temperature blanket is made in crochet, usually with a single crochet with one row per day. This is because when made this way, the blanket will be 365 rows long, so they can be massive and heavy. Doing a single crochet stitch manages the length and size. You could also do an average weekly temperature with a row per week instead. And you can use whatever stitch or method works for you. Some other methods you could use include knitting, making granny squares per day or per week, making patchwork squares, quilting or puff quilting. There are as many ways to make a temperature blanket as there are people making temperature blankets. If you're looking to learn or brush up on the stitches you might want to use, YouTube is full of resources, and I particularly recommend Annie's Crafts tutorials. And if a temperature blanket isn't your style, there are other year-long projects that you could do. You could do an embroidery journal, year in pixels, weather in pixels, a daily drawing journal, a scrap journal, or junk journal, where you take a piece of paper, maybe a receipt or a label from each day, and put it into your journal to represent that day. And what if you don't finish your temperature blanket? That's fine. So what? I didn't finish mine. I ended mine with the end of June because the weight of finishing this project weighed on me far too much. Making a year-long project is a big undertaking and a worthwhile way to practice your hobby and creativity, but any creative project is worth doing if you enjoy doing it, regardless of how it ends. Thank you for watching our temperature blanket program. If you have questions about temperature blankets, this program, or the template, you can email us at the email on the screen. In the description, you'll find a link to the slides from this program, as well as the template that I discussed before. Regardless of whether a temperature blanket ends up being the project for you or not, I hope that you'll nurture your creativity this year. Thanks again for watching, and I hope we'll see you at the library.